Well, we have a quorum. I will call the meeting of the Conservation Commission for December 3rd open. And I'm going to just move right into the new public hearing for maps 1, 2, 5, lots 7, 9, 11, 2, 3, and 4 for a abbreviated notice of resource area delineation. I think we're going to hand out the maps on this one.
The maps.
They didn't get scanned into the system. So we're going old school.
I like old school. I can see them better. There's a little flag and job.
Okay.
All set.
All right, so my name's Frank Gallagher, Gallagher Engineering. I'm here with Ben Albanese and Ross Messina, Meadowwood LLC. I've got white cards
Yep,
here.
I'll take those.
Need them. So this is a property that's actually right at the northern edge of West Bridgewater, and it's right at the town line between West Bridgewater and Brockton. And if you look on the plan, you'll see a locus map that's actually the closest street really is West Chestnut Street in Brockton, and Ash Street in Brockton actually ends at the town line and at this property.
I used to live over there.
So
Well, off Linwood.
So this is about a almost 44 acre parcel. When you combine them all, it's I think six different parcels on the town's assessors maps. Here, you can see I shaded in sort of a faint line and labeled each parcel with map and lot. And it's like I say, almost 44 acres. It's pretty much all wooded. There's a cart path that comes from Ash Street that kind of runs along the western boundary of the property, but it's pretty much all wooded, kind of rolling topography, and we've got 4 different wetland areas that were delineated, and it was LEC Environmental who did the delineation for us. They originally did this back in 2016, but then, knowing that we were filing now, we had them go back out and just kind of touch everything up and make sure our flags were still in place. And so we have a B series of flags that runs from north to south. And actually, a good portion of that B series isn't even on the property that we're concerned with. If you see this heavy line, this property that's to the east is actually owned by the town of West Bridgewater, and then there's a Spadea is an owner, and then actually Brockton Country Club even comes up and abuts this property. So the only place where this B series actually is on the locus is from about B2 to B18, and then again at a B42 and pretty much down to B62. But we will have a buffer zone from that wetland line. Even when it goes off the locus, we'll have a buffer zone that'll come onto this property. So they are flags that we'd like to kind of lock down and get an approval on the locations from the commission. There's an E series of flags that kind of comes up through the middle of the property. And the numbering, if you look at your plan, you'll see there's a number 1, E1, and then it goes, runs north and then turns south. So you've got flag E1 to flag Well, at the very end is 46, even though those last half a dozen are off the locus as well. And then when you go south from flag E1, it starts with a number one, E100, and then to E112, and again, then at that point it runs off the property. So that's the E series of flags, a B series. There's small area where the ground just drops off. It's essentially like kind of a hole in the ground, and that was flagged with C1 to C8. And again, that's off the property too, and it's an isolated wetland. And then lastly, we have a D series that's at the kind of the southwest portion of the site, and that's D1 to D11. And from there, it runs off-site to the west and onto property owned by Lantern Lane Realty Trust. So total, what we filed for is 4,800 linear feet of wetland. And this isn't the first time that someone's put an ANRAD in front of you on this property. The previous owner was Petronelli, and they actually submitted an ANRAD, and I think got an approval or an order of resource delineation in either '04 or '05. But they weren't including this parcel. They weren't including this lot 4, which we've now brought into it. But if you look, and I brought the plan with me just in case there were any questions, but their wetland line looks pretty much the same as ours does, at least the B series does. They didn't have this central portion because most of it was on a property that they didn't
Can
file
you
for.
flip it one more time?
This here.
To make it look, give you the same orientation.
Oh, I see.
Whoops. Be
There's
like
West
this.
Chestnut Street. There's Ash.
That orients it the same. It's a different scale,
Yeah.
but they
This is
didn't
the golf
include
course
this
over here.
parcel.
Right.
But you can see it comes down on the locust. There's this same upland area that we have shown, even though we're not asking the commission to really consider those flags because we're not doing any work in that area. But it does run north to south. It runs onto the West Bridgewater property here, and then it cuts back onto the locust, just in this case, really right at the southern edge of the properties they filed for.
Back on your sheet, you mentioned the C series. I don't see it on our plan. Is that because it was off locus and?
Yeah, I guess, or.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's
I
either
see
It is, the
I
little,
stand corrected.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
I looked in the wrong spot, Frank, sorry.
okay. So, anyway, that's what we've got. So we'd be happy to bring you out there. It's a pretty big property.
Say that again.
It's a lot of walking, but it's nice wooded
How, just,
land.
not that it's our jurisdiction, but how are you getting into that property?
Well, when we move ahead with a development, we're actually going to come in with a road off of West Chestnut Street in Brockton.
How's that gonna go?
Well, we've got an approval
It's so
for
busy
that.
back.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, there's, a fair amount of traffic
Would
there.
you do traffic lights or?
The applicants are talking with the city about making some
I
improvements.
mean, I used to live over there and how busy West Chestnut Street's
Yeah.
awful. Okay.
The sewer easement
Mhm.
that you show on here, is there a reference to that, a deed reference? Like, I could look it up on the registry of deeds.
The sewer easement, you mean the sewer easement that's in Brockton?
On the locus.
Yeah, it's actually, the locus that we've put in front of you is just everything from the town line south.
So on the west side, you show a sewer easement.
Oh, No, that is actually just an access easement.
Oh, that's access. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
a little path.
That's an existing easement that was
think there's
granted
anything
by
in
the
there.
previous owner, Petronelli, for access to this parcel.
Landfill
And it's
Lane.
all, there's a plan on record for that 50-foot easement.
And it's on record.
Yeah.
I wanted to check that out.
Mhm.
That's an ancient way that was referred to as Black Bed Road. And there's a-
Is it being used at all?
It still actually exists, but I don't, people walk
I've
down
seen it, yeah.
Mm.
But it's amazing that it hasn't grown over
Yeah.
those years.
Right across from Ash.
Yeah.
It's an extension of it, actually.
Yeah.
It goes way back.
John, questions?
All right, as my notes indicate, a director of the Brockton Country Club mentioned they hadn't received notification.
They did get one went out.
Okay, that's
So-
all, and it was on the list, as
Yep.
I checked that, so we're fine that you've got a receipt. It's up to them to track it down then. Have you gotten your DEP file number yet?
No.
Okay, I looked at it late this afternoon, I
Yeah,
did not see
I
one
haven't.
either. So we can't close the hearing because we don't even have a file number yet for it. And I didn't find LEC's report as part of your exhibits. Do you have a copy of their report?
I have a report from them.
Can you get a copy
Yep,
to us?
Sure.
So we're primarily interested in the delineation at
Yes,
this
that's
point.
all we're
Right.
looking at
Yeah.
right now.
Okay.
What do you think, how many houses will be in here when this gets up and going?
Probably 30, 35.
That's actually in Bridgewater. Yeah. I have no questions on the delineation.
I still have some more of the line to look at, so I'm gonna need a little more time. The snow's gonna slow me down a little bit, but because of not having a file number and I need the LEC report, they're reputable. I usually don't find too much difference with them, so I don't anticipate that there's gonna be any issue there, but I'm recommending it be continued to the December 17th meeting.
How long ago did you ask for the DEP?
I mean, the day, I think it was probably the day after I filed with you, I mailed everything to the DEP. So
If
it hasn't been more than, I guess, a couple of weeks, which I should have it any day, I'm sure.
So we should have it then by next meeting.
I would think so.
Yeah.
And perhaps they are wondering where the delineation report is, if they didn't get a copy, maybe
All right.
that's holding them up. I mean, you'd
Okay.
think they would have sent something back and said,
Mm.
in the old days, they would write back and say, you need to give us this before we
Yeah.
could issue a file number.
Mhm.
Now, it seems like that doesn't happen very much anymore.
Mhm.
Usually it's a result of you or me calling and saying,
Yeah,
where's our number?
right.
And they'll go, oh, well, it's got to have a delineation report sent to us. Well, thanks for telling us.
I'll call
Okay.
them tomorrow.
And that may prompt them into just issuing it, so.
Anybody in the audience have any questions, comments? Okay. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to continue till the 17th.
Motion to continue?
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Moved.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda, we have a continued public hearing for 194 South Main Street.
That one is on the,
Yep.
however, Mo might need to see a hard copy.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Got
All
enough
set?
got enough notes?
No. No, if I could have fit more on there, I think I would have. Pat Carrara from PMP Associates. Just here to go over the changes that we made to the plan for 194 South Main Street. The November 5th meeting, you guys expressed, or John did some concerns about the rear of the property. And also had some questions about some snow storage. And I understand there was also a question about possible fire escape and rear access around the building. So I'll address these issues one at a time. The rear of the property, John was concerned the PVC markers were not going to be sufficient to prevent them from continuing to access the property. So we've extended the block wall up around the pea gravel diaphragm and back over to this large tree off the corner of the building as a permanent barrier. And on sheet 2, you'll see that we've also called out for them to install the conservation markers on the top of the wall, so that there'll also be visible markers there. With regards to snow storage, there are a couple of small areas around the new septic system where they could put some snow. We've included a note on the plan that states no snow is to be disposed of beyond the block retaining wall within the conservation easement. And that was another thing that John had asked for, was a conservation easement. We did prepare an actual conservation easement document for John, which I don't know if you all have a copy of. But just to make sure that it was clear that there was an easement on the property, we actually included an inset of the easement plan right on sheet 2. So that it was clear that the conservation easement was part of this whole filing. Would have been tough to overlay on the plan, but it essentially follows the block wall across the back of the property and then connects into flag 9 and follows the wetland line up around the side of the building. So I left the planted berm in place for the enhancement. We left that in place even though we're putting the block wall in there. We did remove the PVC markers because they appear to be redundant at this point, John, with the wall going in place and the markers going on top of the wall. As far as any fire escape or rear access, the clients eliminated that. It was just going to be too much of a headache. She did have a couple of very small features. She's going to add a landing and a step for a doorway here, a new handicap ramp here behind the building, and they are going to reconstruct the handicap ramp in the front of the building. So I've called them out on the plan, so that there was no question that there was going to be a little bit of additional work around the building going on. And I believe that was all the concerns that you had, John, I think. If I missed something, just let me know.
Yep. One thing that was brought up at the last meeting by viewing Google Earth, the area that's on the south of the building, that's like an alcove.
Right here.
Have they expressed any thoughts about what they might want to do with that area?
Not to me. They've not told me. I know that there's a door and there's a set of steps that come out over here. There's another one here. I've never seen a vehicle in there personally. I know it's accessible by foot. So I don't know if they're using it, if they're backing in here and using it for any loading or offloading. I don't know, because the prior owner wasn't really utilizing that at all. So I don't know what their plans are for that area, John.
Well, we saw some things on the,
Yeah, at one point, one of the older Google Maps that we had looked at did have some vehicles in there. Driving by today, it looks like the snow was plowed up right against the white fence that's there, and it looks like there was an entryway into it, but it looked like with the way the snow was plowed that nobody's been using it or will be using it. That was the only concern we had. They were going to be putting vehicles back there again.
Right.
Because it does look like it's a kind of a gravelly material that's there.
Yeah, as John's aware, the prior owner did take some liberties around the building.
So I'm
That's it.
wondering if the commission does decide to close the hearing and issue, whether we should address that alcove area with some special condition.
Could it be used for anything?
But just access, I mean, putting a walkway in is, I mean,
I just wouldn't want to see vehicles parked in there without some type of stormwater management.
Well,
right.
would that be sufficient to cover the waterfront, so to speak?
So we could
What
put
else?
something in that, no vehicle parking in that area without coming back to the commission. I mean, if they,
Yeah.
if they want to and the commission feels like it's necessary,
We could,
that you could
Deal
approve it
to
or
it,
not
yeah.
approve it, but,
Yeah.
you know, I don't wanna completely eliminate that possibility, but I'm thinking of something such as, no vehicular parking, is, allowed under this, special conditions, and any future use of it should come back to the commission for, approval.
sure.
Now, based on your knowledge of the site and talking with the clients, you think that would be an issue with them?
I can't imagine why. I mean, you know, if they were actually going to do anything over in the way of improvement, they would have to come back to you anyways.
Yeah,
and-
technically, but
Well, right, technically, you're right.
a lot of times it isn't until we drive in and say, oh,
Yeah.
We drive by and all
Well-
there's an excavator there.
Well, I mean, John knew the shock I was under when I called him. I saw what happened out back, and I was going, "Oh my God!"
yep, yeah,
But yeah, I can't imagine they have an issue with that.
Yeah.
okay.
This
You know,
You should check
and-
with them tomorrow and then let me
this
know,
is where those are practiced
and then I can,
area.
word it
See
what
in
they're
such a way as
they're gonna
to
do.
accomplish what we're looking for.
Right. I mean, I think
Yeah.
just as long as they know that there's a possibility that if they did need to utilize this space for something, that the possibility is there for them to come back with a plan and say,
Sure.
we need to utilize the space, and this is how we plan on doing it.
Yeah. I think
Sounds
that-
good.
I think that they should probably know what they wanna do with it.
Yeah, and this has kind of been an ongoing thing
Yeah.
with the new owners is, you know, we don't know what we want to do, then they want to do something, then they don't, and
Yeah.
I'm the last one to find
Especially with
out.
the number of tenants and people that are in it. It's,
Oh.
Yeah, there's several of
you-
them there, yeah.
Yeah, I can understand that.
I think I mentioned at the last meeting, I wonder if this went through any site plan approval, because just it's so much building for such a small parcel that it doesn't make sense that anybody would have given approvals of it, but we don't know that, so.
No, I mean,
An
that
original
that
building.
building is old.
And an addition here, an addition there,
Right.
and another
Yeah, it
addition
was
there.
probably-
Oh, yeah, it's,
Yeah.
you know, it's,
Yeah.
it's definitely the house that Jack built.
Out of sight, you know, things happen.
Yeah.
Because you don't really know what's going on until you drive into the site.
Mm-hmm.
I listed my concerns, he's addressed them all, so I'm recommending that the commission close the hearing, and I recommend granting the 50-foot waiver for the work that's in the buffer, and recommend issuing order conditions for the septic repair and the restoration of the altered wetland in accordance with the plans for the restoration.
Any other questions?
No.
I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Motion to close.
Moving second, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. A motion to grant work within the 50.
Motion to grant that work.
Second that.
Moving second, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And I will entertain a motion to issue an order of conditions for septic repair and additional restoration for the altered wetland to be restored according to the plan.
I'll make that motion.
Second that.
Moving second, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Done deal.
Alright. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from November 19th.
Motion to approve those minutes.
Second that.
Moving second, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Out of order, but get everybody in and out. And John, I think all we have, besides some signing stuff, is an update for 46 East Center Street.
I've missed a lot of those updates.
There haven't been many.
No,
We'd requested that they get the, a notice of intent filed by today. Didn't necessarily have to be for tonight's meeting, but for today. And I checked with, just before Thanksgiving, the surveyor who is working with an engineer for the homeowner, Mr. Wood. And they've assured me that they are, in fact, working diligently to get a site plan in so that we can, so that they can help Mr. Wood get in compliance with whatever needs to be done there. They're just like every other engineer and surveyor. They're really booked up with all kinds of work, and they just weren't going to be able to make it. So I recommend that we let them know that we understand that, and that we'll keep on top of it and won't let it drag on forever, but that we'll be understanding and patient and for a little while. So that our original vote was to have it in for tonight, but what I guess I'm asking for the commission to do is to grant a change in that to get it in as soon as possible with some limitation. I don't know how far to put it. I mean, you may want to say we'll give them a month more,
yeah.
and then at least we can follow up with it.
So the last I heard, you were going to court.
So, okay, so bring you up to date.
Yeah.
Prior to taking an application for a search warrant up
Right.
to the district court, I sent one more letter to the owner just suggesting that rather than go through that exercise, that he and I meet, and it would save
Yeah.
grief. And didn't get a response, so I did get to the court. The judge, the magistrate provided me with a search warrant. I served it with a police officer on the site, took a bunch of pictures. There was, in fact, many stockpiles of sludge near the edge of the wetlands and elsewhere on the site. There were piles of stumps and debris that had been pushed up against the edge of the wetlands.
Okay.
Most of those piles of stumps and debris had a lot of weeds on it, so it wasn't like it was just washing out into the wetlands. So those were fairly stable. But it was enough to show that there was a valid reason for wanting to get to the site. It's my opinion, and it's only my opinion based on what I saw, that the compliance with the DEP regulations for application of sludge onto land, whether it's for agricultural purposes or not, isn't following any normal standard, and therefore that's a violation of the stormwater bylaw that the town has, which says that that kind of activity would be exempt from the bylaw, provided it's being done in accordance with the Department of Agricultural Resources nutrient management program, in accordance with the UMass Extension Service standard operating procedures, that kind of thing. And in my opinion, again, it's not. So we'll have to deal with that once they come in. But again, I think it's all workable, something that the commission can work with the landowner and help him to get into compliance.
So in compliance means take it out, or
Well,
we don't know? Yeah.
we'd have to see what the site plan will show, but there are areas that probably would have to be some of the debris removed away from the wetlands back.
And he's not taking any more material in currently, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Even though it's not supposed to be stockpiled longer than it already has been.
Right. And some of it looks like it's been there for a while, and then there's some newer stuff.
So a site plan, I'm not sure why what's the site plan gonna show?
So he's having a botanist, the engineer and the surveyor are working together. The engineer has hired a botanist or retained a botanist to go out and flag the wetlands.
Okay.
The surveyor will locate the wetland flags, and the,
Kind of go from there.
let's say he doesn't show any of the stockpiles,
Yeah,
but brings the plan in showing the property boundary, the wetlands, the
Yeah.
wetland flags.
right.
And I go, where's the stockpiles of sludge? Well, we may have to send them back to locate those, but hopefully, as a matter of fact, I could probably give them a heads up ahead of time so that time isn't wasted.
Right.
And say, make sure you get where those stockpiles are. And it probably isn't gonna add that much more time. It's probably a lot of wasted time if we make them go back. While you're there, it's just a few more minutes of so I'll do that, and that's what they would show on their site plan. Then we can look at it and say, gee, this is an area we're really concerned about.
Yeah,
These areas we're not, and as long as you can apply them according to the proper rates, get rid of those stockpiles that we aren't concerned with and get them spread.
how much do we think is in there? How much sludge? Do you have any idea?
Too much.
I mean, like
Well, I
100
did-
truckloads or?
I did receive the amount of tons from DEP that the distributor claims he gave to the property owner.
Yeah.
And if you take the number of acres with those tons, it's a huge amount per acre, and that's not needed for
Agriculture.
adding nutrients for a wood forest.
Yeah.
So that's why I believe it's more than what's required.
Right, right. Okay,
I will entertain a motion to grant a 30-day extension.
I'll make that motion.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And other than signatures or bills, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. We're done.